And there we are, we're on record. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Pascale. You are in Germany right now, is that correct?
Indeed, Berlin, Germany.
In Berlin, and you are here representing the 4-6 projector, mental projector that you are, yes?
Indeed.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Feliciano, if I remember correctly, you're a 3-5 splenic projector and you're up in Texas, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and I'm down here. I'm over here. I'm here now. I'm in Baja, Mexico, and we're here today because of a Facebook post. Go figure. We all know each other from Facebook. Feliciano started this one in the Manifestor, just like the plain Manifestor group, and I looked at it and I didn't respond to it for a few days. And then I read a lot of comments and I thought, you know, I think I see this a little bit differently, but I think I'm stuck on some words here. And so I put in my bit, and then Pascale chimed in and said, yeah, I see it that way. This is how I see it. So that's why we're here, because that thread happened and that conversation happened. And I think it's worth sharing for other manifestors and projectors that are in the human design experiment and looking at, what is this manifestor projector relating like? Like, how can it work correctly? So I'm going to try a screen share now. Let's see if I have this skill. Yeah, look. Okay, and then it needs to be full size and it needs to be slideshow from the beginning. Okay, are you two able to see that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm using relating and communicating for particular reasons as words, okay? So if you catch up on that, if something comes to you about that, but this is the basic theme. And this is the post from Feliciano that started it all. And you're laughing, Feliciano? Okay, well, hey, it's a great question though, because it got this conversation going. So I do appreciate that. So our readers can read that. There were a lot of responses to it. A lot of manifestors had really positive things to say about their projector friends, about how they turn to projectors. You know, one of them said that projectors are my superpower. And a lot of people also said things about correctness and about how the scope of the invitation and things like that were important. So I wanna hear from you projectors about that, because I'm still pretty new with this. So Feliciano, you used some language that you heard from Ra. I'm lucky if a manifestor noticed me. I've heard language like that. Have you ever heard that, Pascale? Oh yeah, there's a mute there.
Not much.
Okay.
Not much.
Okay, so I hear that language from Ra, and I can hear Ra being like dramatic and exaggerating, but also sort of, you know, shockingly true in a way also. So I wanted to start with that language because it's clear that projectors are here to be seen. It's not like you're invisible people and you're supposed to hide. But I mean, and here's my examples. Mick Jagger's a projector, you know, Barack Obama is a projector, Kanye West is a projector. They are seen for different reasons. Okay, I'll just point that out, right? Maybe some of them one has a band that he leads, another had, you know, a government to lead. Kanye was just, I love him, but you know. So I want to rephrase Ra's harsher language into my words. I would say it's lucky if a correct manifestor correctly recognizes you. Okay, I see a nod from Pascale on that, so I'm going to go more into that language a little bit later. Is there anything you want to say about it right now?
The thing is, it's really key as the relationships have had, and it's really, yeah, massive in the relationship and in the mechanics.
Okay, awesome. So you didn't exactly ask this question, so I maybe shouldn't have the quotes, Feliciano. It's just a typo on my part because I care about that. But the basic question is, can a projector guide a manifestor? Okay, and that's the word, guide, okay? So I say the word isn't guide. So that's why I give reason number one. When we're in human design, we do have some words that mean things. And so I'm into using the words that mean things. My understanding of the mechanics from people who've been in it a lot longer than me, and also just from my reading the definitive book, going through my foundation courses, guide, when we're talking about a projector, is talking about sacral energy. 70% of the humans, the generators, have it. So I'm asking, I guess, for some confirmation, even though I'm already sure. Guiding, when we're in human design, means sacral energy, right? It comes from generators. You guys can feel that in a way that I can't. Can you tell me anything about your experience so far of what that interaction is like? I'll start with you, Pascale, and then I'll go to you, Feliciano.
It's hard to describe. I think there's the more now I start, to be honest, 2 years in my experiment, I start now to only notice that kind of reaction. So maybe it's because I'm more correct, maybe it's because I'm more observant. I don't know. Mystery. But yeah, there's that reactivity. There's fuller yes when people recognize me, or when the energy open up to my guidance. There's something in the way they look at me, or the way they wait for me sharing something that I wasn't noticing before. So it's that kind of pull where I feel like it's safe to talk, like it's going to be received, it's going to be welcomed. But it's subtle and it's still hard to explain. So maybe in a year, or maybe in 2 years, I don't know. I may have more to say, but for now, that's where I am. Yeah. Yeah,
cool. Feliciano, you're a few years into your experiment. Do you have a sense of what that sacral energy is like for you to encounter and be invited to guide? Anything to say there?
Well, sure. First of all, I don't feel invited to guide. Like, I'm not comfortable with that language. But I definitely feel a hug. Like, I feel a hug around certain people, and I don't get that with everybody.
Yeah, I don't. I'll wrap my arms around you, but my aura doesn't hug you.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. It's like somebody's inviting me. And I like the way Pascale mentioned it. Referred to it as pulling us in, like inviting with that energy.
Open and enveloping.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So good to hear that. So same question, a slightly different. So in that Facebook post, the responses, 30 responses, basically said, I love projectors for informing me, inspiring me, supporting me, encouraging me, loving me, being my friend, all those kinds of things. And okay, we're clear on that. We can do all of that. And I'm pointing out here that when it comes from a manifestor, especially, the scope of the invitation matters. Yeah. So are we going to get more into that? I think we'll get into that a little bit more. So Pascale, this was language from you that stood out to me. Thank you for letting me share it. But this gets us into some different language. You're saying outer authority is what the manifestors are calling on. Do you want to describe outer authority?
Yeah, so I'll try. Hope I'll do good enough. So basically, when you share your wisdom and people connect to that and get the correct response. So for example, my motivation is hope. So I tend to inspire people into something that's more hopeful. I have power view, so I see what you can leverage. That's the kind of, and the winners and the losers. So my outer authority is usually linked to those two things, either how I see things or how I make them feel from that, and my definition. So I've got Ajna and throat defined. So if someone recognizes me in my projectorness, that's going to be linked to that definition. I can be wise with other things, but that's going to be the first thing where my outer authority is going to come. So my 43-23, how I structure things, that's going to be what people are going to pick on and recognize me normally, usually. So if I am asked for my insight about something, that is what I'm going to share. That is my outer authority. So not the inner authority that helps you take a decision, but the thing that's going to help guide, inform others and help them from there, from what you share. So it's really that thing you put out to the world.
Yeah. Yeah, outer authority. It sounds so romantic. Yeah, but it is something that I don't hear in certain Facebook places, like in the Manifestor group, for example. The difference between outer authority, they are definitely calling on their projector friends for outer authority. That's what they described, but they didn't use that term. So I appreciate that you got that term in there. Feliciano, do you hear much about outer authority? Like, is that part of your human design vocabulary yet?
On my list of things to learn.
Okay, well, great. Well, hey, you're going into LYD. You're going to into living your design. So the vocabulary is going to come to you, I think, that way. If I'm a worthy teacher.
And I think that may be a mental projector thing, because we have to sound bored. Yeah. So sometimes our authority has been described as outer authority, because we need to know, we need to share what we see in that decision-making process. So that is something we discuss with other mental projectors. It's a notion that quite early in the journey, usually we stumble upon, because it's so crucial in our process. So.
Excellent. Okay. So tips on how a projector can be friends. You two are both familiar with this.
I like it.
Well, that's so great for me to hear, because, you know, this made me uncomfortable for a while. When I first heard this from Ra, the language in red is straight from Ra. It's in the Manifestor manifesto. And he talks about it in terms of chemistry. And, you know, he says, the example I always share that he always shares is like, you know, you can inform him, hey, there's no butter in the fridge. And then he's informed, and he might get butter when he goes to the store, or maybe he'll want to go to the store to get butter or whatever. But it's really different to say, hey, there's no butter in the fridge. Rather, hey, would you get me some butter? Or, hey, you know, like telling the manifestor is different than informing the manifestor. And I don't know if you two have practice with this, but you seem to be doing it well so far. Feliciano, can you tell me why you like this?
Well, it's just sort of like a steps, right? Like the dance steps.
That's a nice way to put it. Yeah.
Dance steps. So it gives me like a fence where I can play and feel free to play within this fence, right? A boundary. And it's a very clear demarcation.
Cool. I talked about don't tell me to inform me. There is a difference, and you know, people will learn it or not. An example is
because I learned through mistakes.
Okay, well, fair enough. And it just sounds so arbitrary to me, but because Ross said there's a chemistry to it, and because I've noticed there's a chemistry in me reacting, like if somebody says, I would like to talk to you, or I need to talk to you about X, that's one thing. Please call me about X is another thing. I'm like, dude, why are you telling me what to do? Or even like, hey, do you have time to call me today? I'm like, why are you asking me this question? Like, it just comes into me weird. But if you say, hey, I need to talk about X, and especially if you say, I need to talk about X before 9 p.m. tomorrow, I'm like, great, I can work from that. So it's another thing that you mentioned, Pascale, about how the outer authority works. You give information to manifestors, and then they work from their authority about it. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's let's see, maybe I'll go back to that slide. Do either of you want to say anything about how you've seen that work? Do you have an example? Yeah.
Yeah, there's that little toddler story, if I can.
Yes, I would love to hear the toddler story, because I care about manifestor children for some reason. You know, I'm like, how can we help manifestor children? So please tell about manifestor children.
So I went to visit a friend, and she's not at all into human design, but she let me do the chart of all the family. So I knew a toddler was a manifestor, and I visit, and she tries to make the toddler sit down on a chair to eat. And obviously that doesn't happen, because she keeps telling her to sit down. She keeps telling her it's time to eat. She keeps telling her to stop wiggling, and it's a folding chair, so it's dangerous. So the mum is getting really agitated, because obviously not safe. So because I knew, and because I was practicing and testing, I thought, brilliant occasion to test, inform me. So I informed the toddler, 18 months, these chairs aren't good to wiggle, they're not safe, you can fall, and anyway, there's so much more comfy sitting. She stops. She looks at me with this little smile, like, I see what you did there. And she sat down, and the mum couldn't believe it. She looked at her kid. She looks at me. She looked at her kid. She looked at me. And she was relieved, amused, shocked, all at once. And I just love that tiny experiment. And it's one of the things that makes me believe that it's worth experimenting with human design, because that toddler didn't know about the theory. That toddler didn't do anything for me. It was first time visiting. She's not really, you know, she doesn't care about me. It was pure mechanic, and she felt it in her body. And I could see before I talked, her body was shaking from the inner rage of being told what to do. So it was not just that she was not listening to her mom. I could see that her body reacting to being told what to do. And it's just mind-blowing memory in my experiment.
Well, it's burned in my memory now. Now I've heard it. I think I just read it before, but now I've heard it from you. So it's really in my head, especially what you describe about the body. It's like you could see the body of the manifestor rejecting that, being told what to do. And then your words from a 4323 got in there and formed that little head, who might not be able to even talk about what was going on, but she understands your words, no problem. So she understood your words. She calculated it, her brain did its thing, took the information in and said, oh, I'm gonna make a decision to sit now. I want every manifestor to parent of a manifestor to hear stories like that. And I want my own experiences, but anyway, I live like a hermit. So thank you for confirming that there is chemistry even in a child, in a small child, that supports this kind of thing. So I want more adult manifestors like me to get over the apparent harshness of this and inform the people in their lives. If we can have this communication protocol, things are going to go so much more easily for us. Like, so thank you for
a little image, if that is cool to share.
Oh yeah.
For me, when I talk with manifestors, I talk manifestors English. So in my brain, I switch to a different way of communicating, because I know that's how it's going to be well received. The same way, when I go to England, I used to live in England for 10 years. In France, for example, if I ask a friend to give me the salt, you know, pass me the salt on the table, it's not rude. You do that in England, it's really rude. So it's not about just translating the words when you're in a context. You need to translate in a way that is congruent with how you want to be received. So in England, I would have said, do you mind passing me the salt, please? Because that's the English way.
All that extra language,
So for me, it's going to be the same. So depending if I know I'm talking to a generator, projector, manifestor, it's not going to be the same syntax, wording, because it's not going to be received the same way. And it's important, if I want to connect properly with someone, it's important I know their type so I can communicate without friction. value. So it's like traveling to another country. You take the context and the energy of the surrounding.
The context and the energy, yeah, absolutely. That's like the aura and the structure of the human that is in that aura. Excellent.
I have a question for Pascale.
Sure. Yeah.
So you knew the child, the infant, was a manifestor. I'm curious, do you experiment like that with people, like adults, like you're just watching the vibe of the person and say, maybe yes, no, questions not, or is advised, or, change? How do you decide, or do you decide when you experiment that way?
So I don't always decide, but another fun moment we had last year with my former flatmates, we had people having a bit of a loud discussion in the kitchen, and it was daytime during work. And my other flatmate, I think, was a manifestor. She moved away. She went to the kitchen, said working hours, slammed the door, went back to her room, and I was just listening. I was napping. Absolutely funny image. And I'm sure the two people in the kitchen were generators and manifesting generators. So I just thought it was such a, there was a good chance that she's a manifestor. And when I get the vibe of someone that's a manifestor, I start to inform and I see how it goes. And I observe their language and I see if I can feel that informing, because some people inform without realizing they're informing. So I pick that up. And I've made charts of clients and friends who are not into human design. And I start applying the strategy of the communication, and I see how they react. And it's funny to see how that works, because there's they come back for it, and I can see how easier things go because of that. So yeah, it's just a little play. And some people get into human design because they do feel, it's easy to talk to you. I'm like, well, maybe because I'm informing you. And they're like,
Excellent. Absolutely. Yeah, that is a great question. Thank you. Let's see, I'm going to go back here because I think I have I don't remember what other slides I have. Let's talk about correct invitations. Okay, so since and I'm no expert on this, okay, but I'm starting to understand it. I think as my own sense of my authority becomes more clear to me, because I'm 5 years into knowing human design, but what is splenic authority really? I mean, what the heck? I mean, I get it in terms of like surviving on a sailboat or, in the mountains, but when it comes to like daily life and communications and relations, it's in some ways more of a mystery than it was when I first learned about it. Okay, but what I understand is that if I'm calculating it with my mind and making my action, my decision from my mind, that's not it. So it's coming from momentary things, okay? So when I say correct manifestor, I mean a certain thing. It's coming from authority. And I wanted to ask you too also about recognition. So I just want to lay out the languages there. There's a recognition that happens. In my experience with the two of you, for example, I didn't think about it when I friended you on Facebook. I really didn't. I mean, I honestly, I saw you, Pascale, last year when I was on Facebook before, and we communicated, and that was cool. So when I saw you again, it was just boom. Feliciano, I barely knew you. I think I heard your voice a few times. I'm like, I'm curious about him. So I don't know if that's a good textbook example, but I think that's how it works for a splenic manifestor initiating something like that. I didn't like check your CVs and stuff before I decided I was going to friend you, okay? So at least that's some level of recognition and correctness from me. So let's see, what's my question here? Does one of you want to start out with recognition? Have you got to feel what recognition from a manifestor feels like correct and maybe incorrect? Like, is there a false recognition? Have you ever had an experience like that? Okay, I want to ask about the false recognition because that's just a theory of mine. Let me ask you, Pascale, what is false recognition or an incorrect whatever from a manifestor? What's that like?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's false recognition, but it's someone asking you, for example, for work, happened to me once, and you think it's recognition because you think, oh yeah, they want me, specifically me, to do that work because they see what I can bring to the project. And actually, no, it was just because they like me, so that is nice. 4, 6, it's from my network, so I didn't see any red flag from that point. They acknowledge that I'm techie, so I thought that was enough of recognition.
What was the word?
It was not the tech.
Techie. Okay, tech.
They knew I was techie, so I thought that was enough. I thought that was recognition, but that was not, because, and that's something you have to learn as you grow into your experiment. What I bring is not that. And what pains me when I'm not recognized is not seeing or not welcoming what I see more than what I can do. So that difference between the doing and the seeing, for example, because mental projector, I've got no motor, and I see I'm mountain environment, line 6, mental projector, peripheral view, like it's all the seeing that's going to be what I pay attention to now when I have invitations. And when I feel the recognition, usually it's linked to that. And I feel that burst of, like I glow. I feel like I've got more air in my lungs. I feel like pumped. I also have a grin usually. So it's just that, like feeling the fact that people welcome my insight, are happy with that insight, and I see a result or something that comes from that. That is success, and that is recognition for me, which before that invitation, that was not correct because there was no real recognition. I was stuck and I was not welcome to share what I was seeing. I was pushed back. That's how I saw that there was no recognition. There was acknowledgement of quality and skills I had, but that was not recognition.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, and this is something that all projectors are going to have to learn for themselves, is what is the real recognition that keeps you in the invitation and wanting it. Feliciano, anything to say in response to Pascale or any other experiences for you regarding that?
Wow, just some wonderful insight. Yeah.
Okay.
Spending majority of my life probably pissing off manifestors. Finally, I feel like I'm not pissing them off, and so it's getting to the next level. And I guess with anyone really, it's just, do you know what you're getting with me? Before I'll agree to anything, it's like, are you sure you know what you're getting? Because this is what you're getting. If this is what you're asking for, and this is not what you're expecting, then let's just stop now.
Well, pulling out sooner than later is probably good. Yeah, because you don't have a motor either, so your energy is very precious. And the more I understand the mechanics of human design, the more I'm understanding that the non-sacral game is the energy preservation game, and your energy only goes out at the right moments. And yeah, you're both nodding, you understand that. Just this morning anyway, I had 2 manifesting generator parents, and I grew up wanting to be a farm worker, basically. I thought, and now my whole life is like, save the energy for the moment when it actually comes out. And isn't that what recognition is about? It's about, it's not about your motor power if you happen to have a motor as a projector. It's about what you can do that non-motorized people can't do. Yeah, that's how we're playing together. All right, cool. Have either of you ever had any issues? I don't know if it's too early in your experiment where somebody wasn't cool with you using your authority. I mean, for you, Feliciano, I understand that it's either on or off. For you, Pascale, it's going to depend. Anything to say there?
No, I think for now, it's been okay.
Yeah, You two have pretty much the opposite end of the spectrums of authority. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can talk about that another day. So speaking of which, there are amongst projectors, because there are so many kinds of projectors with and without motors. And there's 5 potential authorities for the projectors. So I just wanted to get this out there to let the manifestors really know, who maybe don't understand. There are mental projectors who have a process that involves soundboarding and their environment. And it's one of the bigger mysteries of human design for me so far. But that's mental projectors. Yeah, okay. Well, and then there's, I don't know, maybe forget the numbers, but some projectors have G authority. And that means they're probably going to talk a lot because they have a G to the throat. But for them, the invitation is about like, is this inviting me, right? So there's I don't think there's a timeline on a G authority projector figuring that out. Here's another mystery. I can't wait to work with more of these. Defined ego projectors. Wow, to have a projector with ego power. You know, like I don't have it. I'm an open ego, but whoa, I mean, I can imagine the time when I'd be like, I want that woman's ego power on my team or something, you know? So, but that's going to be up to her or him to, you know, feel that out. Splenic, Feliciano and I've got this down. We're like, yep, we're on. No, we're not. Okay. But emotional manifestors, emotional projectors, they can't know today. They might not know tomorrow. They might not know next week. So any manifestor who's really going to invite an emotional projector needs to understand that they have authority, and that's it. Anything either of you want to add about that?
Okay. No. The G authority is going to be also talking, but they don't need the other. Because mental projector, we need the other, but G authority, they can just talk it out themselves usually. So process as well, but it's a bit easier.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's the end of the slideshow. Hey, let me do the stop share. Okay, so we've been on for a little while. That was a nice conversation. Can I add anything else you'd like to add to this?
No, I think
it's okay. Yeah, we've had plenty of time. Okay. Well, it's been fun for me to watch the two of you talk to each other a little bit. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to practice a 3-way on Zoom. I'm really getting up there in my technology use now. So thanks for having all your stuff together. This is lovely. I'm going to go ahead and say...
there may be one thing.
There we go.
If anyone watching receive that, there's one thing to ponder before inviting a projector. Do I invite this projector for what they share for them and not because they fit what I need? I think that's how things can go wrong for people who are maybe newer in the human design, because if we don't feel your recognition, we're going to get bitter. It's not nice to be around bitter projector. I'm fully aware. And that happened to me in the past, and that made everything harder and not enjoyable at all. So it's checking in, what is the reason you want this person on board for project, love? Is that them really or not? That's going to be a big clue in the future success of the relationship.
Good point. And that makes a nice segue to an ending on signature. Because for the projector, the signature is success. The success comes, I can't define this exactly, but it's going to come from a sense of your guidance working and you seeing the result of it, the result of that energy. And it could be also, I'm going to say, the result of a good informing and relating with the manifestor. You know, it's a different thing, but there is some success in that. I'm sure you could label that. So manifestors can help projectors with success by, I'm going to say, using their authority to select and choose the invitation to the projector, and not some mental calculation. Oh, this mental projector has technological skills, I'll bring her onto my team. That's me recruiting an idea based on my mental ideas. If I'm doing that, I'm not acting from my authority.
Yeah, it's really, do I need someone who does tech, or do I want her?
Yeah, for everything that she is going to bring to that, that scope of the invitation, right? And that's what the manifestor can really work on. Okay, I like that. So
full package, we are not like a generator who can work the task, I think, without being as frustrated or as annoying when they're frustrating than we can be if we're bitter. Because I'm aware, like, when we're bitter,
interesting.
It's more a painful experience for people around us.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I think people who are new can really have a harsh discovery of what it is to have a bitter projector around them, if they're not aware that they haven't recognized them before inviting them. So yeah.
I appreciate that as an add-on, because I do see it as a responsibility of the initiator of the relationship, the manifestor in this dialogue, to ensure that they are doing that in the correct way, the correct invitation. And maybe some manifestors who don't understand the difference will encounter that bitterness because they're using their projector friends. I mean, that's an easy thing for a manifestor to do, I can imagine, especially with just a little bit of knowledge, and especially with projectors who want to be recognized. I mean, you want to be seen, but then the bitterness that comes from an improper invitation and a using of the projector is going to come back to, and then they might just not like projectors. I know manifestors who have said, in groups and stuff, oh, projectors are this and that. Well, they can be, but have you ever recognized them for real? And that's not something you can mentally choose. That comes from your authority, or it doesn't, as a manifestor. So yeah. Okay, well, I am hoping to be part of more success for projectors in the future. Getting educated by you is important in my process. I'm in a process of becoming a teacher and educating other manifestors about this. So this was a good experience for me.
I just wanted to say thank you for helping bring some light onto this, because from my perspective, there's a dance between the generator and the projector that's pretty well accepted, but and then the question was kind of like, hey, let me know, how does this work? And I wanted to thank you for taking the time to make the slides and perhaps clarify it for people using the right language. So thank you.
Okay. I'm a word nerd. I think you two are also. We're all word nerds. Okay, but there's meaning there and there's mechanics there, and I think we've illustrated that. So namaste, amigos. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.